Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Tom Fontana. I work for the Ohio Soybean Council. We represent Ohio's 25,000 soybean farmers. I want to happy that you could attend our virtual farm tour today. We want to show you how a farmer goes about planting his soybean crop. During the farm tour, please use the chat box or the question and answer box. Type in any questions you may have. Tell us where you're from, who you are, and where you're from, and we'll be happy to answer as many of those questions as we can. So, on behalf of Ohio soybean farmers and Grow Next Gen, our education platform, I'd like to introduce Nathan Eckel, soybean farmer from Wood County, Ohio, to take you on the tour today. Take it away, Nathan.
Hey guys, welcome to sunny Wood County. This is the first time I think I've done this virtual farm tour for 3 springs now. This is the first time I've actually been in the field, so you guys are really lucky today. We've been blessed with some great weather here. We're actually almost done planting. Believe it or not, we started 46 days ahead of our start date last year. So it's been a great spring so far. We're waiting on a little bit of rain here, and a little bit about myself. My brothers and myself farm right around 2,000 acres here in Wood County. And we also have a cattle operation. We've got about 600 to 700 head of cattle on feed all the time. I run the grain farm. My brother runs the cattle operation. Right there on the screen is my wife and 2 kids. My wife is a first grade teacher. And so right now has been a challenging time for us with her and the boys both being home. But actually today we're right on my farm. And as you can see where that red dot is, we're just outside of Lake Erie, just south of Toledo there. Actually only about 3 miles from the Maumee River. And we're planting on my home farm. That's my barn. And if you might be able to see in the background, my barn back there. When we go back to the live shot, you can see my barn right behind me. We're right behind the barn today. But I've been graduated from the Ohio State University in 2005. Majored in ag business, was a sales rep for a seed company for a number of years. And I now run our grain operation here in Wood County and we farm corn, soybeans, wheat. We also do a little bit of alfalfa for our cattle, bunch of different forage crops and cover crops for cattle feed as well. And also for some algae control here for Lake Erie, trying to keep our nutrients here on the soils. So you guys look behind me, you'll see this planter going, and we're rolling live here. Like I said, this is hopefully our last day of planting beans. We've got some rain in the forecast for tomorrow. So we're going to try and get everything finished up today. We actually have 2 planters in the field going today. This planter actually usually plants corn, but we're able to plant beans with it. Made a quick changeover last night and dumped some soybeans in it today, and we're going along here planting soybeans. So just want to take the time again here to thank you guys for being live with me today, and I hope you guys learned something what we're doing here in Wood County and planting soybeans. Special shout out, I know there's some guys from Eastwood, which is my alma mater where I went to high school at. Special shout out to those guys, Eastwood FFA. I know there's a couple guys that are watching from there today. So special shout out to those guys today. But we are planting soybeans today. We usually plant on our farm about 1,000 acres of soybeans every year. That's a little over 1/3 of what our total farm is. We've got some other things. Right around 1/2 is usually where we plant. We're a little heavier on soybeans this year, just with the markets the way they are. And everything like that. Soybeans are a little cheaper of a crop to plant. So right now, as you're seeing this planter roll through the field, this planter is planting 28 seeds per row per second. So that is a cost of roughly a penny a row per second. So every second I'm throwing 24 cents worth of seed in the ground every second. So you guys can do the math. It's pretty crazy that this planter can do these kinds of things. And as we're talking here, I'm running the auto steer. I'm actually just trying to back up here and turn around. And but kind of some of the cool stuff we've got here in the cab today. If you look, I've got my iPad here. We use an app called Climate Corporation, and we use that to map everything that we plant, and then we actually turn that around and we put that into our combine, and then we overlay our yield map. So this keeps track of my varieties that I'm planting and where the varieties are planted. If I want to split varieties in the planter and see which variety works the best, I can put that all in there, and then when we go ahead and combine that, I can see which varieties do better, and that makes my decision for the next year. This other box down here, I know you can't really see the screen, but this is what controls the planter. This is telling me everything that the planter is doing. This box back here controls all the functions of the planter, just basically folding and the markers and things of that nature. So, and then I've got, if I flip the screen around here for you, maybe we've got my little, this is an older auto steer box. There's a globe up on the top of the cab that's using GPS guidance. We're using GPS guidance in this field to plant straight rows, and it also helps with the mapping. We also use it when we're combining and spraying and all that kind of neat stuff. So kind of with that, I wanted to just touch real quick on this coronavirus or COVID-19 that we've got here. It's impacted our farm a little bit as far as markets go. We're feeling the effects of that in our market prices, but we're still planting. We've planted every acre this year. We're not holding back on what we're planting. This is our business. We're going to continue to go. It has changed a little bit about how we operate with my family, at least. We all I've been pretty much confined to this tractor. We've been trying to stay separate except for when we're out in the elements. So this tractor I've been in for about 2 weeks straight. Nobody else has run this tractor. Those are kind of the things that we're doing. So we've got my wife and kids, and usually, we're a big family. My brother lives just down the road from me a half mile, and my mom lives just another half mile from them. And, we all work together. The girls all make dinners and lunches for us, and we try to all work together. So we've had to combat that a little bit. That's been a little different, including my wife, who's still trying to teach from home, and my son's doing their schoolwork as well. So it's been a bit of a challenge, but we're making it through just like everybody else is. So with that, we'll climb out of the cab here and kind of show you this planter and how this planter works. So we're kind of high up in the air. This tractor, the cab's about 6 feet in the air. So yeah, we're really high up. So I got good visibility in this cab. So I'll flip you around and kind of show you the planter here. This is a 24 row corn planter. So that's, they're set on, the boxes are all set on 30-inch centers. So it's 60 feet wide, which is one of the larger planters. There are larger ones out there. They make one double the size of this one. But this is usually what we plant corn with, like I said. But right now, I'm going to dig around here and try to find a seed for you and just kind of show you guys what we're working with here. And see if we can find one down in here so I don't know if you guys can see that right there. There's just a little green dot right down there. See if I can zoom in right at the tip of my finger. So we're putting this into moisture, is what our plan is. I'm planting at a depth of about 2.5 to 3 inches deep is how deep we're planting that. We've been really dry here, so we've got to plant this seed really deep. And with the other problem that we've had here lately is it's been super cool. We've had frosty mornings here the last couple mornings. And what that does is it really takes our soil temps down. And that's a challenge for us. So kind of a little science experiment everybody can do at home. I wanted to kind of give you guys a little science experiment to do at home. Go have your mom or dad, or you guys can go to the Lowe's or Home Depot or any kind of place that sells garden seeds. Buy yourself some green beans, some sweet corn, things like that, and wrap them in a wet cloth, and set a couple of them out on your windowsill where the sunlight can get to them, where it's warm in the house, and see how long it takes for them to germinate and grow. And then I want you to take those same couple more seeds, wrap them in a wet paper towel, and put them in your refrigerator. That's about the same temperature as our soils are right now. We've had really cool days. That's where we've been at. So that's what we've been dealing with here lately, is really cool soils, dry soils. So I want you guys to all try that at home if you get a chance. Neat little science experiment. See which one germinates faster, whether the ones on the windowsill germinate faster or the ones in the refrigerator. So with that, I kind of wanted to go through the planter here a little bit, kind of show you how this all works. But I'll flip you back around. So we've got all these rows here, and we've got up front, we've got these what we call trash wipers. That basically just takes any debris or anything, gives this planter a nice clean area to plant the seeds. Then we've got our seed discs, which are these discs right here, the shiny discs, and then our gauge wheels here. And these gauge wheels basically adjust the depth that's how I get my seed depth. But I don't know if we can see up in here or not, if my gimbal will allow me to do it. I don't think we'll be able to see, but right in between these rows right here, in between the two gauge wheels, you'll see there's a little slot up in there, and that's where the seed comes out down into the seed trench. And then these rear wheels in the back, they're packing the dirt firm. So if you guys have ever planted anything in a garden, you don't just throw the seeds out on top. You put them in the ground and you want to pat it firm. You want to try and pat that ground as tight as you can within reason. And that's what these wheels on the back here do. But I'll pop one of these boxes open and you can kind of see the seed inside of these boxes. Now you'll notice these beans are green. And usually the beans when they come out of the field, they are not green. But we have a treatment on those. And the treatment is for funguses. And there's an insecticide on there. And we're trying to give these soybeans the best opportunity possible to try and grow and produce a crop for us. So that's why they're treated. You can plant non-treated beans, but with the cool soils that we've been having and the cool temperatures we've been having, we want to give ourselves as best a chance as we can and give these seeds as best a chance as they can to grow and do great for us. So,
hey, Director Dan, do you want to show the video of a planter working? And while that's going, maybe I could ask Nathan some questions that have come in. Nathan, one question, and you may have mentioned this, but how large is your farm?
Yeah, so we farm, like I said, 2,000 acres here in Wood County.
Okay. How do
you guys are seeing this planter here? Tom, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
go ahead.
If you see this planter, this is the same way this planter that I have works. So this is called a vacuum planter. So imagine you guys have the end of your mom or dad's vacuum cleaner, and you put a golf ball or a baseball on the end of it, and it sucks it tight. That's what this planter is doing. It creates a vacuum and sucks each individual seed into one of those holes on what we call the seed disc. And as it's spinning around, there's a little wiper that disc will lose suction in that one spot, and it'll drop the seed down into the seed tube and then into the ground. And that's basically how this planter works. There's many different types of planters. There's finger pickups. Our other planter is what we call an air seeder, and that works just the opposite. That actually uses air to blow the seed through the tube and into the ground. But the way this one works is what you're seeing on your screen. Those are those firming wheels that I talked about in the back of the planter. And that's really how that's as simple as it is. There's some other different mechanical things, chain drives and things like that we can use to change change how many seeds we're putting on per acre. But I just saw a question pop up. Do we grow edamame? No, we do not here. So getting into a little bit of what these soybeans are used for that we grow on our farm. So a lot of these soybeans that we grow on our farm are used primarily for industrial purposes right off the bat. So we're using oil. They're using oil for biodiesel, for inks. They're putting it into plastics, things like that. So if you guys think about, your newspapers, if anybody reads the newspaper anymore, the ink for your newspaper is primarily soy ink. Same thing for your textbooks and things like that. A lot of new plastics are being used with soy oil. And so a lot of the plastics in your cars on this tractor that we've got behind me, those are all using different soy oils to make those plastics and oils and things like that.
So since you're talking about the uses for soybeans, what is the two main components of a soybean are oil and protein. What is the protein used for?
Yeah, so once we take these seeds, once we harvest them and take them to the elevator, the processor will crush those, or what we call crush them, and get the oil out of the bean. And once they get the oil out, then there's all the dry matter that's left, and that dry matter will be used for livestock feeds, primarily in poultry and the hog industry is a lot what they use the soybean meal for, as you'll see right there. So two main uses. So we've got, like Tom said, the oil and the protein. So we don't really waste anything. We don't use any soybean meal on our farm with our cattle. Like I said, they're primarily used for the hogs and for the poultry industry, for chickens and turkeys and things like that. So some of them other things that you'll see pop up on your screen: hand sanitizers, different kind of paints, like I said, plastics before for your cars, tractors, trucks, things of that nature. So just a lot of great uses for soybeans. And many people think that they're just for edibles, and they're not. Like I said, there's just a lot of industrial uses for soybeans. So we don't just eat soybeans. We're using them every day, in everything that we do. Everything that you guys touch almost every day has some sort of soybean in it. So.
Okay. Thank you, Nathan. Why don't we move on to the stages of a soybean?
Yeah. So
the growth of a soybean.
Yeah. So I've planted these beans in the ground. Hopefully we get some warm weather and some moisture here. And hopefully in about 5 to 7 days, these beans will be up out of the ground. So the first thing that we'll have there is those seedlings will germinate, and you'll see they just popped out of the ground right there. And that's the kind of the first trifoliate, as we call it. That's the bean just emerging. That's right at emergence. And next there, we're still kind of at that first trifoliate stage, second trifoliate. When I say trifoliates, that's kind of the number of leaves or number of leaf sections on the plant right there. Now we've gone to flowering. We've turned into the reproductive stages there. So you'll see on the screen there's a purple flower, and out of each one of those purple flowers will become a set of pods. as we call soybean pods. And we'll see that in the next screen right there. You'll see the set of pods. So every one of those purple flowers that you see will have these little 3 sets of pods, 2 to 3 sets of pods on them. And in each one of those pods will be hopefully 3 to 4 beans per pod. Right there is a nice late summer, early fall day, just getting ready to start maturing. There you see a mature plant. They've dropped all their leaves on the ground at that point, and all the soybeans are starting to dry and just about ready for harvest there.
I had a question from somebody as we watched the video of a maturing soybean plant. How many seeds can your planter hold at one time? Do you have an idea?
Oh, number of seeds would be hard to fathom. A lot. So each one of these boxes holds about a bushel and a half. So when I say a bushel, that's roughly a little over 60 pounds. So you're looking at about 90 pounds of beans per box per row. So times 24. So that's how many beans we've got in this planter right now. That's how many hold. And this planter, if I fill it clear full, I can plant about 40 acres on a fill. And we're planting at 130,000 seeds per acre.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about heat and the soil? You mentioned earlier that the ground's fairly cold right now because of the weather we've had. And if you could just expound on that a little bit.
Yeah, so really ideally, we'd like to see temps over about 55 degrees would be ideal. We were down, we got back, a lot of our soil temperatures right here, since we're so close to the lake, really are dictated by the temperature of the lake, how cold the water is on Lake Erie. And you wouldn't think with as many miles as we are from, I mean, we're close, but we're still quite a few miles away from Lake Erie. So our soil temps really dictated by the lake temperature. And with these cool nights, the water stayed a lot cooler, a lot longer. But ideally, this time of year, we've got a lot of 70-degree days, and we're getting that soil temperature up above 55 degrees, and that's ideal for germination.
Okay. If you don't mind, Nathan, can you head back to the tractor and maybe start planting again, and we'll ask some more questions?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead with some questions while I'm walking back here.
Somebody wanted to know if you grow carrots.
We do not grow carrots. We do not grow any vegetables here. Actually, the farm just across the ditch here that we were looking at when I was in the tractor, they do grow some cabbage here and some tomatoes and also pumpkins and squash. We do not grow any vegetables here, though.
Okay. How do you get your seed?
So both of my brothers are seed dealers, and a lot of our seed comes from, I purchased my seed through either one of my brothers. We've got a good relationship, obviously, with my brothers, and that's how we purchase our seed. Usually purchase our seed, we make decisions in the fall. So as we're harvesting, we're already planning for the next crop year. So as we're going down through the field harvesting the crop that I'm planting right now. So in the fall, when we're harvesting these soybeans, I'm making decisions for the next year already. So I'm already ordering seed, deciding what fields I want to plant soybeans, corn, wheat in, and things like that. So all those decisions basically are all made a year in advance, really.
Okay. I think you already answered this. I think you said you usually get 3 to 4 soybeans out per pod on the plant. How many would that be about on one plant, do you think?
So usually we try, I usually count the pods. The pods are a really good indicator of yield. And then we kind of take an average from that. So ideally we'd like to see 60 to 80 pods per plant is usually ideal for us. So that's kind of, and then you kind of take an average. We just use an average of 3 beans per pod usually. And that all depends on growing conditions, really, how that all plays out.
Okay. I'd like to say hello to the second grade students from West Elementary in Edina, Ohio. Thank you for your message. Let's see. Do you have to spray post-emergence?
Yes, we try to spray as much as we can. We also use tillage, tillage as a weed control. But we do post spray these soybeans, not real late. I mean, once we get through June or July, not much gets sprayed on them unless we have some insect damage is really the only thing that we ever really have to spray for late in the year. We do some foliar fertilizer, just some manganese and things like that, just to give these soybeans just a little bit of a boost. Our soils seem to be a little deficient in manganese, so that's why we spray that foliar over the top.
Now that you're in the tractor and moving, can you tell us a little bit how auto steer works?
Yeah, so basically the way auto steer works in this one I actually have, I'll flip you around here, but you can see on this tractor has a steering wheel, and there's a little motor in here. So the globe that's on the top of this tractor, I don't know if we can see it. You can see the wires. There's that globe that it receives a signal from a satellite, and that signal goes into this box down here. I've already got preset what we call AB lines. So I set an A and a B point. It draws a straight line down through the field. And then as I'm going down through the field, you can see this steering wheel is automatically driving for me. And we're going right down through the field straight. I still do use my marker on this planter, just in case something were to happen and I would lose signal. It does happen from time to time, but that we do still use a marker every once in a while. But as you can see, I plant at roughly about 4.6 to 4.8 miles an hour. My planter performs best at that. So you can kind of see this is what I've been looking at roughly for the last 2 weeks, is this planter towing behind this tractor. So.
Well, very good. We have a question from Florida. Can soybeans grow here in Florida? I'll take a stab at that one. I've been down in Florida and seen soybean fields, but that's in northern Florida. The farther south you get, I don't believe they grow many soybeans at all. So up around the Panhandle and northern Florida, they do grow soybeans. I had the pleasure of going to a soybean research farm in Quincy, Florida, which is up around Tallahassee. So I know that they get grown up there. Let me see if there's some more questions for you, Nathan.
Yeah.
Let's see. We've answered quite a few of them. Hey, can you go over again how you know the soybeans are ready to harvest?
Yeah. So this is going to sound really scientific, but this is the way. I think I saw a question pop up. What generation farmer am I? I am 5th generation farmer here in Wood County. We've been farming here for 5 generations, but this has been passed down between my great grandfather and on down through the lines. But you really take the soybean out of the pod, and I put it in my teeth, and depending on the snap in my teeth, I kind of know when they're ready. Now, to get a little more scientific, we'll take the combine out to the field, harvest a small portion of the soybeans, take a sample in to what we call the elevator or terminal, have them test it for the moisture content. And that's how we know when they're ready to harvest. Ideally, we like to see the soybeans that 14 to 15% moisture range.
Very good. Let's see. Let me give a shout out to some more of our attendees here. Like to say hello to the third graders of Pleasant Valley Elementary. Glad you could attend today. They're third graders from Parma, Ohio. Also like to say hello to the folks at Pearsontown Elementary in North Carolina. Glad you could attend. Here's a question. How many plants do you plant a year? I don't know if you could really answer that, or you could say how many acres of soybeans, and do you plant soybeans in the same field every year?
No, we don't. So that's actually a great question, Tom. So we try to what we do crop rotation. So some of our farms we do a corn or a bean and wheat rotation on, and then we try to do a corn bean wheat rotation is kind of our rotation that we do here. Primarily is what we try to do. So we try to use 3 crops, and then we put some cover crops in between, either some cereal rye, triticale, things like that, just to we want to try and increase our microbial activity in our soils, keep our soils living, and keep them healthier. So that's our new goal. We didn't always used to do that, but we found some benefits of doing things that way. So yeah, that's what we've been doing here.
Well, you answered another one of my questions. You do plant cover crops and believe in them.
Yes.
Very good. Let me see. I'm looking for some other questions here. So how often do you harvest your crops?
So I mean, we harvest our corn and soybeans get harvested once a year, as does the wheat. And so the wheat we usually harvest that in the end of June, beginning of July. And then if it's super early, if we get our wheat off at the end of June, we'll usually try to plant what we call double crop beans, which is the same beans that we're planting right now. But we try to get another crop in the field and try to get as much get as much production off of a farm as we can. Because we do use, with our livestock operation that we have, we do use the manure from the livestock operation to feed these crops. We've got anywhere from 500 to 600 acres that we rotationally spread manure on. And that gives us almost all of the nutrients that we need throughout the year on those farms. We usually do those in a 3-year rotation. We split that up and usually cover roughly 150, 200 acres a year with manure from our livestock operation. So really full cycle, if you really stop and think about it. If you want to think about sustainability, we take the corn that we produce, and even we use some of this bean fodder to the stems of the plant, if you will. We bale that, use that for bedding. They do eat some of that. And we use our corn, we chop what we call silage, chop the whole plant, we feed that to the livestock, and then we take the manure, which is produced by the livestock, and spread it back onto the fields to produce another crop. So really sustainable, what we're trying to do here on our farm, and then all the cover crops too, that we believe in, to try and, hold the nutrients in the soil for as long as we can.
Okay. Have a number of other questions here. How long does it take you to harvest?
So it all depends on the weather usually. But so like these soybeans, for instance, I can harvest soybeans at right around 20 acres an hour. So that's how we've got that 1,000 acres. So that's about, we usually harvest at about 20 acres an hour. Now we've got some road time. We're spread out I'm kind of where my farm is right now, where we're at right now is kind of our central location. And you go 10 miles, draw a 10-mile radius around this farm here. And that's that's the radius that we farm here. So we've got some travel time, but when we're harvesting soybeans, we're right at about 20 acres an hour is what we can harvest.
Okay. If you wouldn't mind, Nathan, stepping out of the tractor, that might help our video feed a little bit. And I have
Yeah.
a number of other questions to ask you. So,
Okay.
okay. While you're doing that, I want to say hello to the folks at Warwick High School in New York State. Also want to say hi to the first graders at Southeastern Elementary in Chillicothe, Ohio. I have first graders, yep, at Southeastern. Okay, I have a couple other questions. Do you turn off the auto steer when you turn, or does it turn for you?
Yes, this tractor, there are auto steer outfits that you do use the auto steer when you turn. This one I actually turn off, and I manually turn the tractor around at the end of the field, pull the implement up out of the ground, or pull the planter up out of the ground and set it back down when I turn. There are auto steer systems out there that you just hit one button and it'll automatically turn for you, but this I still have to turn it.
I have a couple questions. What do you do when the seeds don't get enough sunshine?
There's not much you can do. Everybody, when you guys are in school and think that, you can control your grades by, studying hard and doing those types of things. But here, when you're farming, it's really a gamble. We rely on Mother Nature, and last year Mother Nature was not all that nice to us. Like I said before, we started planting this year 46 days before we did last year. We did not get all of our acres planted last year. We only got to about 60% of our acres planted because the soils were so wet. That's one thing that we can do everything right. I can have my planter set correctly. I can put the seeds at the correct depth. I can have the weeds all suppressed in the field, but ultimately Mother Nature and the weather really controls our production and how well we really do.
Okay. You mentioned that when you harvest, you can tell by how dry the soybeans are that they're ready to be harvested. Why do people want soybeans at a certain moisture or at a certain dryness level?
Yeah, so like if you guys do what I asked you to do and try to germinate those seeds in that towel, if you let those seeds that are moist stay in that towel for a long time, they'll start growing mold on those. So that 13 to 14% moisture range is ideal for storage of soybeans, because when we harvest these beans, the end producer or the crusher that are using these soybeans can't use them all right away. So they have to be stored in what we call a grain bin. And so we want those at that 13 to 14% moisture range so that they don't mold. So if you guys have those seeds wrapped up in that towel, you leave them sit out for 2 weeks, I guarantee you they start growing mold on them. So that's why we try to keep them as dry as we can.
Okay. Question for
Dan wants me to kind of show my homestead here. So I sit on 55 acres here, but you'll see my tractor, and that's my barn, stores all my equipment. I also have a workshop in there that I do all of my maintenance on all my tractors and combine and equipment. I build everything, or I try to build as many gates for our cattle operation, weld in there and do all that kind of stuff. But pan around, there's 55 acres here. And I purchased this farm about 5 years ago. So as you can see, we're really flat here. I know there's a lot of people from a lot of other parts of the country, and we don't have any hills. It's flat. So kind of something unique about where I live. This all used to be a swamp at one time. This was called the Great Black Swamp. If you guys do any type of history lessons or anything like that, and you want to read about the Great Black Swamp, that's where this farm's located. We're in the Great Black Swamp. A lot of places throughout the country they need water, and we here are unique, and we have to get rid of water. because our soils will hold a lot of water. So
Yeah. What do you do when it floods?
can't do anything. We hope we've got these fields are systematically tiled, so there's plastic tubes that are in the dirt, and they drain the water to what we call ditches. That then the ditches take the water to the creeks, and then out to the rivers, and then into Lake Erie.
Okay.
We're right in Lake Erie watershed right here. So that's why we're doing as much as we can with the cover crops and things like that.
Very good. Let me say hello to some of our other participants. Want to say hello to McNicholas High School Chemistry in the community. They're in Cincinnati area of Ohio. Promise students in Akron, Ohio. Let's see who else we have. Kindergarten students from Northrop and Medina, Ohio. Genoa Middle School in Ohio, or Genoa, if you want to do the Italian pronunciation. Let's see. Wondering if Africa can grow soybeans because it's so hot. I think they're trying to grow some soybeans in Africa, but I'm not sure how much is grown there at this point. Which brings to another question. You mentioned that soy protein is important. Are soybeans used in plant-based foods?
Yes, yes. You've got not these soybeans particularly. There are some soybeans grown around here in this area that are food grade beans, what we call food grade beans, and are used for tofu and things like that.
So what's the name of your farm? I'm getting all kinds of questions here.
So we call my farm Eckel Grain Farms. It's my last name. It's been that way for the last 5 generations. So the farm's been split up and divided amongst family members several times, but that's what the name has stayed with us here in our family.
Okay, I have another question. What do you think will be important career opportunities in agriculture over the next 10 years?
Yeah, that is a great question. And I mean, we're looking for, so I also sit on the board of directors, not only for the Ohio Soybean Council, what is bringing me to you guys today, but I also sit on the board of directors for a cooperative. So I'm a member of a cooperative. I'm an owner, but I'm the board chairman for that cooperative as well. And we're always looking for skilled people. I think technology is a huge thing right now that's going to become a bigger player. Everything that we do, we have apps on our phones to do this meeting, this Zoom app. I have apps on my iPad to map and things like that. Technology is going to be huge for agriculture, I think. And then just skilled labor. We need people who there's some great things, some agronomists out there. If you like plant pathology, soil biology, any of those things, there's just so many things you can do in agriculture right now. Tons of jobs available. Anything that you really want to do, as we go down this path of with cover crops, using cover crops, soil health is going to be a big one. I know there's a lot of companies that are devoting a lot of time to that kind of thing. Also drones, aviation. Drones are huge right now. Doing some aerial maps, infrared photography, infrared video scans, taking those pictures and videos, and then also trying to draw prescription maps for fertilizer applications based upon those. So just tons of things to do, guys, in agriculture. So as you older guys that are on watching me today, I mean, agriculture is a great place to look for work. There's always something to do. We're always going to be farming something. We're always going to be producing something. So agriculture is a great industry to get into.
Yep, sure is. And there are many other things, farmers have to get their soybeans to market. So they sell to cooperatives like Nathan mentioned, to soybean processors and so forth. So you have people who buy and sell soybeans, who process soybeans. You have transportation and logistics people who move soybeans, not only in Ohio, but around the world. Probably around 50%, give or take, of our soybeans are exported. So there are lots of things. You could breed soybeans. You could work on in the fertilizer, or you could be a seed salesman. There are just lots and lots of opportunities in soybeans and in agriculture in general. Want to say hi to third grade students from Winter Springs, Florida. Say hello again to the students from Eastwood High School, Nathan's alma mater in Pemberville, Ohio. Let's see, do we have time for a few more questions? One is, why are you a farmer? Why did you start this job?
So I've been since I could reach the pedals on the tractor. I started driving a tractor when I was about 8 years old. That was when I started. That's my family's done this for as long as I've been around. It's just something that's been in my blood. Our family's done it, like I said, for 5 generations, and I want to continue that legacy. And I've got 2 young children here, just on the other side of that barn in the house that are doing the same thing. They're not out here with me today. They're actually doing schoolwork, doing Raz Kids or something like that in there. But anyway, if you younger folks will know what that is. But I want to build something for them so that they can continue to do what I was fortunate in the fact that my family farmed, and I want them to have the same opportunities that I did. And hopefully they'll continue be the 6th generation farmers.
Okay. This may be the last question. It's kind of a combination of two. Someone asked about the change in climate. How has that affected how you farm? And then in particular, have you changed anything you do because of the issue of algae blooms in Lake Erie?
Yeah, so to the algae bloom thing first, we've changed a lot of what we do, with cover crops. I just bought a new fertilizer spreader this last year that we can spread cover crops with. I can variable rate fertilizer with. So we have the co-op, my agronomist that I work with at the co-op comes out, takes soil samples along with my yield maps. And then we draw a prescription map. And so I plug that information into my auto steer that also controls my spreader. So we're only putting the amount of fertilizer that we need, especially with us using manure. We don't want to over apply fertilizer. So I'm just kind of spoon feeding these crops with the spreader, but this way we don't over apply. So and then also the use of cover crops, that spreader I can spread my cover crops with. So those are kind of the things that we've changed on our farm in accordance with the algae blooms and things like that. When it comes to climate change, like right now, that's you'll see that we've got a sunny day here. We've been super dry. I think there's some less pollution out here right now. And our weather's going to continue to change. So we were able to change our varieties that we plant. That's why the mapping and the technology piece in this tractor is so important, so that I can track these different varieties and different what we call maturities. So the length of time that it takes a plant to get to maturity, that we can change those things a little bit depending on the length of time that it takes these soybeans or corn plants or wheat to mature. Those are some of the things that I think we're going to have to tweak a little bit as we get smaller and smaller windows to do things. And the seasons change a little bit, I think.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I want to apologize to anyone where we may not have answered your questions. We tried to answer as many questions as we could. We appreciate your participation today. Want to thank Nathan for his time on his farm. We really appreciate it. And if we were all there in person, we'd clap and nod our heads and thank you, Nathan, for the time, and appreciate you answering all the questions. I want to tell all the students and teachers out there that Ohio Soybean Council and education projects manage and have an online education program called Grow Next Gen. GrowNextGen.org is where you can reach it. There are all kinds of classroom resources. There's information on workshops and events for teachers, career videos showing talking with people who have careers in agriculture and how they got into those careers and so forth. There are activities, e-learning courses. I encourage you to grownextgen.org and see what kind of resources are available to students and teachers there. So without further ado, I want to thank Nathan again, thank producer and director Dan for your work today, and thank you very much, all of you, for attending this virtual farm tour today. We really appreciate it. It also will be available on grownextgen.org in a recording, so you can go back and look at it again if you so desire. Thank you again, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, everybody.